Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question's to the Premier. Premier, as you know, perhaps more than any member of your cabinet, your party's last state election win was bankrolled by the gambling industry. And according to the Australian Electoral Commission returns, in February this year, the source of less than a quarter of the money your party received from corporate interests has been declared. Premier, do you acknowledge what ABC fact-checked confirmed, that Tasmania has the weakest donations disclosure laws in the country? While your predecessor agreed to reform and a review of the Electoral Act, tepid and drawn out though it is, you appear to have walked away from any strengthening of Tasmania's nation-leading weakest donations disclosure laws. Premier, what is it? A basic lack of ethics or a lack of courage? Are you afraid you can't win without the millions in secret donations from your corporate backers? Are you that scared of a fair fight? You don't want Tasmanians to know who funds your campaign and what, like the Tasmanian Hospitality Association, your backers might want in return for their contributions.
Thank you. The Honourable the Premier.
About $4 million the money you got wasn't declared, the source of it.
Madam Speaker, I thank the member for Clark and the leader of the Greens for her question. This morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, look, I've said publicly on this matter, the former Premier had indicated that he would look at this matter. And I've said publicly, Madam Speaker, that I will do the same.
There's a review process
but I do want to make the point. I do want to make the point, Madam Speaker, that is very clearly what the leader of the Greens, the member for Clark, is advocating for is public funding.
We're advocating for donations
is public funding. Is public funding because, Madam Speaker, in other jurisdictions, Madam Speaker,
territory in Australia and the Commonwealth has public funding, by the way.
Madam Speaker, and we don't have public funding in Tasmania, Madam Speaker, which means that we don't take money from health or education or other essential services, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
You take money
now,
from
Madam Speaker.
Madam
Speaker, it is clear that at the election we had two competing policies. One that was advocated by Labor and the Greens, which would have shut pubs and clubs down, Madam Speaker.
It would have saved
lives. Would have cost jobs, Madam Speaker, and caused social dislocation, Madam Speaker, in many regional and rural areas. And on the other hand, we had a policy, Madam Speaker, that actually strengthened the employment opportunities and the investment opportunities for many of those businesses in regional and rural locations, Madam Speaker. Ours was a job-creating policy. Theirs was a job-destroying policy, Madam Speaker. That's the difference.
Standing Order 45 relevance. Perhaps the Premier could just go to the question, which is, what is it? A basic lack of ethics or a lack of courage that stops you from enacting donations reform?
Okay, as you appreciate, that's not a point of order. I ask the Premier to continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Look, and I can understand her wanting to interject and stop me from explaining exactly what the Greens are advocating for here.
The question wasn't about us.
Madam Speaker. And look, we get the interjection. Bingo. Madam Speaker, what the member for Clark is calling for is public funding. It's public funding. And she has herself indicated, Madam Speaker, in this debate.
Madam Speaker, no. The Premier is being misleading about our position and he knows it. There's a suite of reforms that revolve around donations disclosure and public funding is but one of them.
Okay, that's not a point of order either, so please proceed.
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. I didn't think it was a point of order, to be frank, because you said yourself a moment ago that in every other jurisdiction they get public funding. We don't in Tasmania, which means that we don't take money from health or education or essential services to fund elections. Now, that's the difference. That is the difference, Madam Speaker. Now, at the election, people had a very clear choice. They could vote for a job-creating policy on this side of the House or a job-destroying policy on that side of the House, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Now,
so who pays the piper?
Now, Madam Speaker, who pays the piper? Well, you want the piper to be paid by taxpayers in Tasmania. That's who you want the piper to be paid for. And Madam Speaker, I have said very clearly that I will look at this matter, Madam Speaker. But I am very concerned that, Madam Speaker, the taxpayer at the end of the day will end up funding elections, which is exactly what the Leader of the Greens...
No, and this is... Standing Order 45 relevance. For starters, the Premier hasn't even bothered to go anywhere near the issue of donations, disclosure and transparency, and he's deflecting to public funding, so he doesn't have to answer the question and admit how ethically corrupt he is.
It's not a point of order, and I did hear the Premier state that he was going to be looking into it, as was Will Hodgman's policy. Thank you. That's just over 4 minutes. Thank you, Premier. Yes.
Madam Speaker, you wouldn't have heard the interjection that Cassy O'Connor just made during your ruling, but I ask you to instruct her to withdraw that very unparliamentary remark.
Did Mr Gutwin hear it?
Okay, Ms O'Connor, I'm sorry, I'm not privy to what you said, so...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stated that the Premier is ethically corrupt because he won't disclose the source of his donations from vested interests, and I withdraw that if the Leader of Government takes offence on his behalf.
Thank you. Consider it withdrawn.
Well, Madam Speaker, look, I will finish my comments here. And again, and I think it was quite obvious that the member again misled the House in her contribution when she said I'd gone nowhere near donations reform. And as you quite rightly pointed out, I had. The former Premier said he'd look at this. I've indicated publicly that I will look at this, but I'm very concerned that the end point that you want to get to, quite frankly, and I guess because not many people want to donate to the Greens, is public funding. And you want health and education and essential services to have money diverted from them to fund election campaigns.
Okay.